Hey guys, good morning, Creator Mom. It's like 7 and it's still kind of dark out and it's raining this morning. Finally, because it's been blazing hot and it's been trying to rain for these past few days, like sprinkling. I'm like, Jesus. So we're getting some more rain, which is good. I wanted to just talk about a movie that I watched last night. The movie calls This Ends With Us, and it's about basically power-based violence, domestic violence. And I just saw a little lightning. So the movie it's very good. It's really good. It's a good drama, even romance. It shows this girl in the beginning of her life, as like a teenager, and she's beautiful. She even seems like very confident, you know what I'm saying? Doesn't seem to have like a lot of emotional issues and stuff, whatever, like in the movie. Well, anyways, her father, and she's pretty well off too, like come from a pretty well off family, look very provided for, look like the father's very financially successful, but the father beats the shit out of the mother from time to time. So she sees this, obviously, and obviously she thinks to herself, wow, I don't want to be like my mom. I don't want to find a man or be with a man who treats me like that, right? It's like common sense. I don't think nobody looks at their parents doing dysfunctional shit and says, wow, I really would love a man who treats me like shit. That would be great. No, we generally say the opposite. Wow, I don't want that in my life, And then it shows her actually shows her coming home because her dad died. So as an adult, right? And then the movie kind of goes back and forth. Like it goes back to her young adulthood or childhood, like as a teenager. And so, yeah, so she's coming home as an adult because her dad died. Her mom's like, oh, just come up with 5 things you could say that, about your dad or whatever at the funeral. At this point in the movie, at the beginning, you don't know what he has done. You just see her, she's coming home, her dad dies. Her mom's like, can you just say something nice at his eulogy, you know what I'm saying? And you could tell she just like, she doesn't really feel like it. The words aren't coming easily for her to find nice things to say about her dad, And so she goes up to the podium at the funeral and she starts to try to say a speech like, oh, my dad. And she looks down at this list, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all blank. Nothing good to say about her father at this, at his funeral. And then she just kind of starts to talk and then she just walks away. She walks out the funeral. She can't do it. And then, they flash back to her childhood, and that's when you see, like, her dad beat the shit out of her mom and stuff. But he never beat the shit out of her. He treated her very well, but he did beat the shit out of her boyfriend, because what happened was, I don't know how old she was, if she was 13, 14, 15, she was in high school, we know that. So, there's this boy who she saw in this house across the street. I think it was like an abandoned house, and he was like kind of like homeless. So she was, and they got on the same bus. Like people would make fun of him, like, oh, you smell, whatever. Like you could tell he was like dirty a little bit. So she felt for him and she left him some food. She started giving him food and stuff like that. Anyways, they started to develop a relationship, like a friendship, And he also explained to her that he had went to this house because his mom kicked him out, supposedly because his mom chose men that beat the shit out of her too. So anyways, they kind of then he found out that that's what's going on in her household as well. They really formed like a close relationship, a close bond. And then eventually they did end up being romantic with each other. And one day, I think because she had a couple of hours before her dad came home from school, he came home from work, well, so she would be, alone. And then so her and her boyfriend, this guy, were together. They were in bed and they started having sex. It was her first time, whatever. I think he said it was his second time. It was really cute. It was like one of those, like, losing her virginity, but actually she was losing her virginity in a very beautiful way. She really loved this guy and he loved her, you know what I'm saying? They had a nice little bond and he treated her well and she treated him well. So anyways, the dad happens to come home. Maybe he came home a little bit early or whatever. And he hears that somebody else is in the room with her. And he, of course, Bart is angry. Who's in there? goes in the room. He beats the crap out of this kid, almost to near death. That's how violent and how bad this guy's temper was. So then that was like the extent of their relationship that they showed thus far. Got my coffee now. So then, as an adult, they show her. Okay, so they fast forward back to when she's adult. She walks out her dad's funeral, and then she's on the rooftop of this building in the city, sitting at the edge. She's not going to try to commit suicide or anything like that. She's just like chilling. Then this guy comes on the patio, the rooftop, and he throws a chair violently. He's like angry. Oh, he's by himself. And he goes on, and then they start talking or whatever. He's, she had a hard day. He had a hard day. He's a neurosurgeon. Kid died. Whatever the reasons are for his outbursts of anger that he had. He thought he was alone up there. So anyways, they get to talking, and he starts to get into her, and then they start playing this game called Naked Truths and whatever. They're giggling, but he is revealing to him his true self. He goes, well, he shares a naked truth, and he goes, I want to have sex with you. And she goes, oh my God. oh wow, like, what is that about? So then, and then they start talking about relationships, and she's like, well, he told her flat out, like, I don't do like relationships. He's like, he just has sex with women. And she's like, wow, how many women has this worked on? He's like, all of them, So red flag, right? Anger, coming up there throwing a chair, saying that he doesn't do relationships, he just wants to have sex. I mean, come on, right? But it's okay. We don't see it. We're like, I don't know. It's just crazy. So anyways, actually, she doesn't jump on it right away or nothing like that. Like, they start to like kiss and things like that, but then he gets a phone call because he's a neurosurgeon, like, oh, the emergency surgery or whatever. So then she's spared in that moment. She ends up opening this flower shop. Meanwhile, the story, they're not telling you anything that's happened with her first love in high school. Nothing. So anyways, she opens up this flower shop, and it's really beautiful. And this, it was kind of like this really like old building though. She had to do a lot of work to it. And this woman walks in. She goes, oh wow, like, I've always wanted to see what went on here at this, what they were going to do with this shop. Like, it was closed. And she's like, I've always wanted to come in here and see what it looked like. Whatever. These two end up making good friends, and she actually starts working for her and starts helping her clean up the place and fixing it up to make it a flower shop and everything. They develop a very nice best friendship. So then she finds out, actually, the girl gets a phone call from like her husband or whatever, and she's like, yeah, I'm over at the flower shop, da-da-da. And he's like, oh, I'm out across the street. So he wants to come visit her at the flower shop. She's like, okay, come and bring my brother too. Well, turns out this girl's brother is the guy that, that the, main character girl met on the rooftop. So it's like, whoa, it almost seems like serendipitous. Like, oh my God, like, wow, what are the chances that, like, you're. So now she has a second opportunity to give this dirtbag a chance. So then, he seems charming though, and he's kind of successful. He's a neurosurgeon, you know what I'm saying? It's not all like bad. So, and he seems to have a nice relationship with his sister too. So anyways, this is getting so long. 9 minutes. So, then they start to develop a relationship because he's pursuing her. He wants to talk to her. So then he decides, you know what? I'll give it a shot. I'll date. Because at first he was like, I don't date. He doesn't do the whole romance thing. Obviously, because he knows he has issues, right? So he told her, he was basically telling her up front that he's got some major emotional issues. So, but they start dating and everything's going all fine and dandy and beautiful, blah, blah, blah. And then an incident happened. Something was left in the oven. It started to smoke and burn. But before that, they were having a nice time. They were flirting, kissing in the kitchen. And all of a sudden the fire alarm goes off. So he hurries up and tries to get the thing out the oven. The idiot goes without gloves to get this thing out of the oven, and she goes, oh, you're the glove here, and she goes to give it to him, and he stands up angrily and smacks her down. But in the scene, you don't know exactly what happened. Like, they don't show you clearly that he smacked her down. It was like weird, but they show you later on in the movie, because the intention is to make it look like all these things happen accidentally. Like, oh my God, I stood up and I smacked you. Or it was an accident, And so, hers gets a little more like physical, but he starts to be he starts to be kind of controlling too. There are incidences where he's controlling, but it's kind of subtle, because you think the person just like really loves you, and they're just trying to, they just really love you, and that's why they're like being kind of controlling. But you could tell the way she starts to act all like, oh, baby, I love you. Like, oh, no, like that, all like that, like trying to appease him so he doesn't like get upset or something like that. That's like, it's like, wow. That's where it starts, So long story short, this guy ends up being somewhat abusive. He's not abusive all the time, but he's it's subtle. He's like controlling, and then there's these incidences, and then he got pissed. This is a long story. You gotta watch the movie. But okay, so how can I wrap this up? So basically, her and her man go to this restaurant, and at this restaurant, she notices the guy who's serving them is the guy from her childhood, her first love, that she lost her virginity to. And she's like, holy shit. You could tell she's stunned. Like, when she sees him, she's like, oh. And anyways, he finds out, and of course he gets jealous, and he finds out that, and then her childhood, love, finds out that this guy is abusive, because one day they come in the restaurant and she has a little bit of a black eye, He's like, he knows the signs. So he told her, he's like, look, you should leave him now, you know what I'm saying? And she's like, no, it's not like that, he's just like try to give excuses at first. He's like, look, and then one scene, he puts his phone number in the back of her phone case or whatever, like where he thinks that the man ain't gonna find it. But the man had her phone. Why did he have her phone, right? He was probably looking through her phone, looking for a phone number or something like that, and he dropped it, and then he found that the number, the card that the guy put in there, so that she could call him if she had to go in an emergency, So then he finds it. Of course, he gets angry, and she's chasing him around the house like, no, it's not like that. That's not what it's like. She can't even explain the situation because he's already full of rage. You know what I'm saying? He's already full of jealousy and rage. So then he starts walking out and going down the stairs, and she tries to grab him like, no, and then he pushes her down the stairs. Of course, you think, that could seem like accidental, whatever. Hey, his anger and rage led him to pushing her down the stairs. You know what I'm saying? So would he have done it if he wasn't in that frame of mind? Probably not. But they get angry and rageful because of the, being controlling and the emotional issues they have. So then she starts to realize this shit is not accidental and all this stuff. So she ends up getting help, but she ends up pregnant too. And then there's more to the story. It's actually a 2-hour movie, and that's why it's so hard for me to put this movie into a nutshell. But the incidences add up. She leaves, has this baby. You think, oh shit, is she gonna get back with him? She doesn't get back with him. No, when they show her after she birthed the baby, and he's holding the baby, and she's stroking his hair, and she says, I want a divorce. And he goes, no, come back, And she's like, if your daughter, told you a guy hit her, what would you do? You know what I'm saying? Would you tell her to go back? He was like, no, I would tell her to leave, So anyways, he gets it, and she ends up running into her, first love again, and turned out that her first love actually owns that restaurant they went to. So it's kind of neat to see how they both turned out to be business owners, and their paths kind of crossed again. The end of the movie kind of insinuates that they're going to be together, which is kind of cute. We all love a movie that ends like that, you know? It's really sweet. So yeah, the gist that I got out of it is just like, wow, you see, it kind of shows you how she didn't want to be like her mom, how she didn't want a man like her dad. And then it happened, you know? It happened. It's that subconscious shit, you know? It's that shit that's underneath the surface that you're not even aware of initially. Not even aware, like it's just, if you have any kind of like desperation with men, I think that's a sure, because it was like the movie didn't show that she was like not a confident woman. She seemed very confident, but she still but it can happen to anyone, you know what I'm saying? It can. People like to say, oh, that would never happen to me, you know. Well, it happens, but at least she didn't stay. And the movie shows her holding the baby, and she kisses the baby's head, and she goes, this ends with us. This ends with us, meaning I'm breaking the pattern. I'm not staying with this guy. And she asked her mom, why did you stay with dad? Why did you stay? She said, because it was easier. It was easier to stay. It was easier to stay, you know? To me, I took that. See, but her father seemed way more violent than this guy she was with. Thank God that this guy wasn't as violent as her father. She kind of got a lesser dose. Because the father, he might have killed the mother if she left. He might have tried to kill the mom. And that's why the mom said it was easier for me to stay. It was easier for me to just endure the ass whoopings whenever they happen and walk on eggshells than risk, you know, him coming after me maybe and trying to kill me. She didn't say it, but I think that that's what was implied. You can see that as weakness or strength, whatever. You know, we don't have to judge it. It was what it was. And thank God that the daughter, she went through it, but then she was able to get out. And that's what matters. And she realized, you know what? We're getting out and we're not doing this anymore. And that's, you know, that's good. So anyways, highly rec the movie. Bye.